All right, welcome to this Aero Nordic webinar. This is a webinar that's shared across the Nordic region, so welcome all. In this series that is actually going to spend the next 4 days diving into Workspace ONE and a subset of what it can do. Today we're going to focus on the employee experience in Workspace ONE, and with us today, we have Ben Ward. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you very much.
All right. And well, I'm just going to shortly say that this webinar is being recorded, so you can send it to your colleagues later on. But also, since you are attending this live webinar, I mean, you have a great opportunity to ask the question and get them answered right away. So feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you. You can ask the questions live or just ask them in the Q&A and we'll pick them up as we go along and maybe take them, if it's too complicated, we'll round them up and last in the presentation. So without further ado, let's get started.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So yeah, thanks for joining the first of these 4 sessions. So today we're going to be covering employee experience. So I'm Ben Ward, I'm an end user computing technical specialist for VMware, and I've been at VMware now for getting on for 6 years, covering everything from access through to VDI, through to mobility, through to unified endpoint management, and everything in between. And before I joined VMware, I was doing something very similar for Citrix. So I've got a good understanding of the end user computing market and all of the different vendors that are out there. So the reason that I start with employee experience is because I think it's the most important thing that you can do when it comes to end user computing. How can you make sure that users have an absolutely amazing experience? I used to be an IT manager and I worked out very quickly that when you don't hear from your end users, that's when you know they're having a good experience. It's only when they start to phone up IT to complain that you know that something's going wrong. So ideally, in IT, the job of IT should be to try to make technology invisible, to try to remove it as a barrier, so that users can just get access to the information and the applications they need to without even having to think about it. So that's what we're going to go through today when it comes to employee experience. And to sort of make this quite easy to consume, this first session, I've got a lot of videos in here. I've got some demonstrations as well. And we'll also talk about sort of the core concepts behind Workspace ONE. So let's crack on. So what I want to do first is show you a video. And this is quite a new video from VMware. And it talks about remote working and why remote working is so important these days. So let me just cue this up. Go full screen. So here we go.
In boardrooms and virtual meeting rooms around the world, business leaders are asking, how do we unify our culture when a screen is our only touch point? How do we organize our organizations if there's no there to return to? The question isn't whether change is coming. The question is how to change business for the better. Because today, teams can work effectively from here, here, or here. And being on the same page doesn't have to mean being in the same place. Through digital workspaces, employees are performing their best from any app, any device. Through a virtual cloud network, they have seamless connectivity and experiences wherever they are. And with intrinsic security, data is as safe at the edge as it is at the office. So as we look to the future, maybe it's time to start asking, can we build an organization that works together, even when it's apart? Yes, in fact, we've never been closer. With a digital foundation that treats remote work not as the exception, but as the rule, your organization can work anywhere as one. Because technology has a way of making the distance disappear.
So that's quite a nice way to start the sessions. I think that's an absolutely brilliant video. And obviously over the past few months across the world, what we've been seeing is probably the biggest proof of concept for end user computing ever. And I think pretty much every organization out there has worked out that, yeah, remote working or working from home actually works. So when we're talking about remote working, when we're talking about a digital workspace, we're putting technology, we're putting information and applications into the hands of end users wherever they are. We break their link to an office, we break their link to any geographic area so that they can just get access to those applications on the device which is most productive for them. So what I want to do first is go through what Workspace ONE is. And that's what the video was talking about. It was talking about VMware's digital workspace, Workspace ONE. And what I'll do on here, and you'll see this slide every day for the next 4 days. So hopefully by the end of it, you'll know it inside out, but feel free to ask any questions on it. So what I'm going to do is break down all of the different capabilities we've got within Workspace ONE, all of the different features and product pieces, and then break it down by license, and then also break it down by the underlying components. So this should give you a really good understanding in one slide exactly what we're talking about when it comes to the digital workspace and when it comes to Workspace ONE. So first off, in the standard version of Workspace ONE, we have 2 components. We have something called Workspace ONE Access. And Workspace ONE Access is all about aggregating together all of the services and all of the applications that IT has, that an organization has, and making them really easily available to your end users. And that could be through single sign-on. It could be through access to SaaS applications. It could be through enterprise app stores. But it means those applications are available to your users wherever they are. And the next piece on top of here is this green piece, Unified Endpoint Manager. So with the standard version of Workspace ONE, you get access to the lower levels of Unified Endpoint Manager. And in there, you have the ability to do all of your traditional enterprise mobility management, and we'll go into that in more detail tomorrow. And you also have the ability to leverage MDM controls when it comes to Mac OS and when it comes to Windows 10. The next version here, Workspace ONE Advanced, includes all of the rest of the capabilities within Unified Endpoint Manager. So the ability to do per-app VPN, and we'll talk about that on Thursday. The ability to wrap applications and deliver them from multiple app stores. And then also we have the full PC lifecycle management capabilities of Workspace ONE. So that includes full application and lifecycle management of Windows 10 and of Mac OS. And again, we'll cover that tomorrow. And then we have Workspace ONE Enterprise. And in Workspace ONE Enterprise, this is where we bring in our intelligence and automation engine. And in here, you can have full visibility right across your estate, right across your applications, and right across your users. And as well as being able to automate and resolve tasks without having any human involvement, but you can also make sure that you've got full insight into any security concerns, anything that's going on right across your estate. And it's there we start to see some really amazing integrations with Carbon Black, which is one of the technologies, one of the vendors we bought last year. And at the top level here, Workspace ONE Enterprise with VDI, this is where we have virtual apps and desktops with VMware Horizon. And that's the ability to take your Windows applications, to keep them in the data center, but then to deliver them out to your users wherever they are on any device. And then we've got a couple of add-on capabilities here. We've got Workspace ONE Security, which is Carbon Black. It's the Carbon Black integration with Workspace ONE. And don't worry too much about Carbon Black right now because we'll cover that on Thursday. And then we've got Workspace ONE Assist. And Workspace ONE Assist is all about the ability, and again, very, very important at the moment, the ability to support your end users on any device, on any network, wherever they are in the world. So that's the ability to be able to jump onto a device, to take control of it, to be able to copy files across to it, or to stop and start processes. So this is Workspace ONE. This is most of the capabilities that I could fit into this one diagram with the underlying components and with various licensing pieces on the side. There are some nuances around the licensing that we're not going to get into today. If you want to ask about those on the Q&A, by all means, go ahead. So as I said, we'll be going through this every day this week. The pieces we're going to be focusing on when it comes to employee experience are realistically around intelligence and access with a little bit of Unified Endpoint Manager thrown in. So let's crack on with employee experience. So the challenge we've got these days, and we probably don't see this as a challenge when we're in IT, but the challenge we've got is if you go back 20 years and if you think about what end user computing looked like, realistically, it was a box that sat under a desk that ran a version of Windows. That was end user computing. And if you were an end user and you wanted access to an application, you'd just launch Windows. You'd go in and you'd click on your application and then it would run. Most of the time, you'd only have access to that in the office. So your range of choices were very limited, but then so potentially were the complexities that you had to deal with. If you fast forward now to 2020, then there are so many different types of devices and ecosystems and applications and places to grab those applications and identities. To be a user these days, even though you have so much choice, it can be confusing. And that's why what you need to have is a solution that sort of pushes all this stuff together and says, okay, whatever device you want to work on, whichever application you want to get access to, we can make that work. We can give you access to it. Wherever you want to or need to work from, we can make that work for you. So that's what Workspace ONE is about. It's about making it as easy as possible to be an employee of an organization. So I'm going to move on to the next video now, and this shows you sort of the employee lifecycle management capabilities that we've got built into Workspace ONE and how we make it really easy to be an employee.
Meet Nadia. She has just received a job offer from your company. Nadia is prompted to download Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub and is welcomed by her virtual assistant, which is powered by AI. The assistant provides her offer letter and, once signed, helps Nadia to get everything she needs for her first day. The assistant displays her options so she can choose her ideal laptop and accessories, and even an ergonomic desk. She's all set for day one before ever coming to the office. On her first day, Nadia gets a notification from IT stating they're ready for her to activate her full digital workspace. She can simply press Activate to get going. She inputs her IT-assigned credentials, and then Workspace ONE comes to life. She's provided with secure access to the company's intranet site with the latest corporate communications and all of the apps she'll need to do her job. Clicking on the People tab, Nadia can see her manager as well as the rest of the team. At any point in the day, Nadia can click on her virtual assistant and ask questions. It will intuitively connect her to the answers most likely to help. Workspace ONE is consumer simple and enterprise secure. With the new virtual assistant, help is always just a click away. Now let's check in with Nadia's colleague Taylor. The company needs her to travel for a global team summit. She asks her Intelligent Hub assistant to order a new corporate credit card. The assistant asks Taylor to verify her billing info and to agree to the terms and conditions. The assistant submits an order ticket and a new corporate card is on its way. At the LA office, Taylor tries to access the Wi-Fi but can't. She asks her Intelligent Hub assistant to help. The assistant requests access to her location to determine where she is. Once provided, the assistant asks if Taylor would like to update her Wi-Fi configurations to get local Wi-Fi access. As she is leaving the office, she sees that another employee has sent over an org update for her approval, which she can also look at and act on. She can even e-sign some documents and approve an employee's PTO request through the click of a button. Workspace ONE. Get productive today.
It looks like it's very sunny wherever she is. So in that video, you saw quite a lot of different capabilities and quite a lot of different features that made it really easy to be a manager and to be an employee. So we're going to go into the center of this employee experience idea, and this is all about the Intelligent Hub. Now, throughout the week, on some of these slides that you'll be seeing, we'll have some of these learn placeholders, and underneath them, you'll see references to hands-on labs. So if you've ever come across VMware hands-on labs before, this is where you can go and get access to a completely virtualized environment and with a full lab walkthrough guide. So if you want to have a play with any of the technology that we're going through today, then by all means, go to that lab, log in, create yourself a new free account, and then go and have a play with the technology. If you've got any questions about that, then please just ask. So everything that we just saw in that video comes back to what we call the Intelligent Hub. And the Intelligent Hub is at the center of everything that goes on with Workspace ONE. So it's from here that you grab access to your applications. It's from here that you get access to your SaaS services. And it's also from here that we can manage the endpoint device. And we've got a lot of different capabilities built into the Intelligent Hub to make it really consistent, engaging, and productive. And I'm going to run through those now. And these are some of the different capabilities that you saw in that video. So in there, you saw an application catalog, and we'll go through that and what that looks like and what accessing it looks like. You saw an enterprise contacts directory, custom notifications and approvals, and we'll cover mobile flows as well, which is probably quite a cool piece of that video. And also we'll go through corporate services. So first off, an application catalog. It's pretty self-explanatory. The idea is that no matter what device you're on, you get access to the applications you need to do your job. So potentially you could be on a Windows 10 device. You log on to Windows 10, you open up your Intelligent Hub, and in there you'll see Windows 10 native applications. You can click on those applications, then it'll install the Windows 10 app on the device for you, and we'll go through that in more detail tomorrow. Or maybe you see a Horizon virtual desktop or a virtual application in there, or maybe it's Office 365 as a SaaS application. You can click on those applications and then they'll launch. The same as if you're on a Mac device. If you're on a Mac, you'd see a very similar set of applications, only instead of having native Windows, you'd have native Mac. The same on iOS, the same on iPad OS, the same on Android, the same on Chrome. So all of these different ecosystems, you have a very, very similar experience. The only difference being the native applications based on the underlying device. Now, when it comes to accessing these services and accessing the Intelligent Hub, we make that really easy too. So you can get access to all of these different applications and services using intuitive sign-on functionality. So potentially it could be Face ID, it could be anything biometric, so fingerprint. You could use a PIN, you could use your AD password, you could use multi-factor authentication. And in fact, when it comes to MFA, then we have the something called VMware Verify, which is an integrated MFA tool. And that means that potentially, okay, let's go back to the Windows 10 model. Potentially you're on your Windows device and you are logged into Azure AD. What you could do is go to office.com. Now, office.com will know that Workspace ONE is your point of authentication. So it will redirect you across to Workspace ONE. It will then pop up on your phone, Verify will pop up on your phone and say, you're trying to access Office. Is this okay? You press yes, and then it signs you in on your device. So you've got that multi-factor authentication built into the platform, and it makes it very, very easy to get access to all of those different applications. Then we've got the Enterprise Contacts Directory. And the idea behind the Enterprise Contacts Directory is to make it really easy to find anyone else in your organization. Now, potentially from there, you can get access and call and message anyone else that you need to get access to. So I can probably show you what mine looks like. And this is one of those quality of life improvements where if you want to find someone, or one of the big problems in an enterprise is trying to find people that you need to get access to. And this is exactly what it solves. So if I just bring this up, hopefully you can see that. I appreciate the screen is probably quite small for you, and I've got a virtual background, but I can click on people, and in there you can see my team. So I could quite easily go all the way up to Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of VMware, but that's probably career limiting, so I'm not going to do that. But from there, I can get access to anyone.
We only see the slide though.
You can't see my video?
No.
All right, okay. Just pretend that you can then. All right, I'll remember that. So got a question. Is Linux still on the roadmap list? I'm assuming that's for modern management. Yes, we'll cover that more tomorrow. Linux is actually should be GA. If it isn't at the moment, then it should be quite soon. So I'll remember not to show anything on the camera. So next, one of the other pieces we saw was custom notifications and approvals. Now, this is a very, very key capability that we've got. So I was dealing with a council up in the middle of Scotland, and they were hit quite hard by blizzard-like conditions that hit in about 2018. So what they wanted to do was to get the ability to be able to send out notifications to different groups of users. So maybe they had geographically spread users and they wanted to say to them, look, you can't come in today because the office is closed, or you can go to this particular office, or potentially you have to use these devices or these services to get in. So they were looking at third-party applications to do the notifications for them. With Workspace ONE, this capability is built in, and we actually use this for mobile flows that we'll go into a little bit shortly. But we have the ability to create custom notifications as well. So if you wanted to create a notification that said, look, this system's going to be down because we're carrying out a backup, and you wanted to time that notification as well, you could do that. So you could just send this notification out. You could even send it out to different groups of users. So you could say, okay, this notification is only going out to these users who are using this particular application, or this notification is only going out to users who are on iPad devices. And you can also flag up the level of urgency of that particular application. And on top of that as well, we have a capability which is all about urgent and high priority notifications. And with that, you can send out notifications that the end user has to dismiss before they can continue, before they can carry on accessing their applications. So in that case, you know they have seen that notification. And this can be useful for any sort of issue, any sort of local emergency, or anything to do with the office, or anything to do with applications or the business itself. So this is a very, very powerful tool that's built in. And if you think about Workspace ONE, we have this capability because we have access to all the different devices that are out there. Now, when it comes to intrinsic security on Thursday, we'll cover what that actually looks like. Tomorrow, we'll cover privacy and what we can actually see on the devices. And on Thursday, we'll cover the security implications of everything we do. So the next piece we have is corporate services. And in corporate services, this is where you can provide access to potentially an intranet site. What we actually do, and this is actually a screenshot of my phone, what we do at VMware is we use the corporate services tab for our IT help desk. So in here, we've got access to Oasis, which is the name of our internal IT support. So I can log a ticket. I can upload a support bundle potentially. I can have a look at all of my devices. But again, the idea is that I can easily get access and engage with the business. In this case, I can engage with IT. And all of this is put together into the Intelligent Hub. Now, one of the other features you saw in that video was the virtual assistant. And this is where we've got a really good integration with IBM Watson. And what that means is you can ingest information into Watson. So it's all based on the amount of data that you want to take in, but it could be FAQs, it could be knowledge-based articles, it could be any other unstructured data that you've got that answers questions. And as you saw in the video, Taylor, the manager, she wanted access to Wi-Fi credentials for a certain office. So she typed that information in natural language, and the response came back with a file to be able to connect her to that office's Wi-Fi. It's as simple as that. It's all about natural language. Potentially it's speech as well. So talking to your device to get an answer based on the particular organization's data and FAQs and knowledge-based articles. So it means, again, that users can self-support. They can remediate a lot of high-level problems themselves without ever having to go to the IT help desk. And another way that we help them to be really productive as well, and again, you saw this in the video, is through mobile flows. So mobile flows, if you think about the day in the life of the user and maybe they want to get access to a certain application to complete a workflow. In this case, you saw Taylor approving a PTO request on her device. Instead of going into the application, it could be Concur, it could be Workday, it could be any of the other types of applications out there. What we do is we surface the workflow into Intelligent Hub. So instead of going into the application, she can simply go into notifications and have a look at all of the different things that she has to do. So in this case, it could be PTO, it could be any other workflow request, and then just click OK, approve or reject that particular workflow. And we've got lots of integrations with lots of different applications out there. And again, this is about making it really easy to be an employee. You don't have to open up all these different applications just to click yes or no. You can do it all straight from the Intelligent Hub, and that's very, very powerful. We also have the ability to let users know if we're going to change what we can see on their endpoint devices. And this is all about privacy. Privacy is incredibly important when it comes to these devices, especially if they're COPE. And we'll go into COPE in a bit more detail tomorrow, but corporately owned, personally enabled, in which case they're managed by the enterprise, they're managed by the organization, but the user uses it as a personal device. They want to have the confidence that IT can't see any of their personal information. And this is where the privacy app, the privacy information in the hub comes in. If IT makes any change to any of their policies for managing any of these devices, the privacy app will actually flag up what's changed and what IT can now see. And what that provides is peace of mind for those end users. They always know what IT can actually see and monitor and view on their device. If anything changes, they will be notified. It's a very powerful capability. We also announced, this was VMworld last year, the integration of physical access cards into the Intelligent Hub. So we have that capability now. And what this means is you can just use your mobile device to get access to buildings, get access to doors and offices where before you'd use an access card. Now, I'm not sure how useful that is at the moment when a lot of users, well, especially in the UK, aren't actually going into offices, but you can see the idea behind this. Again, it's quality of life. It's about trying to make it very, very easy to get access. Because if you think about what this will probably look like, if you leave the house without an access card, most people wouldn't turn around to go and get that card. However, if they left the house without their mobile device, I would probably guarantee that most people would go home to get that device, because our whole world sort of revolves around our mobile devices. So I just want to show you a quick video. It's quite self-explanatory, but I want to show you a quick video of what this looks like.
An employee's day-to-day is made up of physical, technological, and cultural experiences. One common physical experience is access to work, whether a distribution center, retail store, or corporate office. We've all had those days where we can't find our badge, or it isn't very convenient. With Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub and HID, we can put digital access into an employee's favorite tool, their mobile device. With HID card readers, employees can use their phone to badge in, and when verified, access is granted. One of the benefits of a physical badge is the ability for security teams to easily confirm if someone is an employee or not. Intelligent Hub also provides the user a digital ID badge that can be easily shown to security. Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub aligns the digital to the physical workspace, enabling the best employee experience.
So I think that's pretty cool. So next, what we're going to move on to. So that's what it looks like from an end user's perspective. So we have the ability to make it very easy to be an employee. We also have this whole idea around employee lifecycle management. So from the first day that they join the organization, excuse me, the first day they join the organization, we can give them access to the applications and the services they need to get access to. And then when they decide to move on, then IT can quite easily remove all that information from their device. And then we have a lot of automation. Then we've got a lot of automation around that as well to make it very easy to support these end users. And what we're going to go into now is employee experience management. So this is what happens under the covers, if you like, when it comes to employee experience. And this is how we make it very, very easy to support your end users. And we'll go into that, and we'll back it up in a little bit with a demo of what this actually looks like. But the idea is, if you think about where Workspace ONE sits when it comes to end user access, when it comes to devices, it's right in the middle of all of your end user experience. So we understand about users' devices. We understand if devices are going to fail. We understand if users are using applications or if they're using certain applications. We understand where users are signing on from. We understand what devices they're using. So we grab all of this information, we bring it all together, and then we can build really integrated analytics to understand everything that's happening. On top of that as well, using intelligence. If we do spot that something's changed or that something unusual is happening, or potentially that one of these devices is about to break for some reason, then we can automate a whole lot of workflow capabilities in the platform so that we can prevent some of these issues from happening before the user is even aware of them. So that's the next piece that I'm going to show you. I think this is pretty incredible.
Meet John. Like many of us, John uses smart automation daily in his personal life to protect his valuable assets, simplify chores, and get to places faster. But when it comes to work, chaos just seems normal. What if John could bring his everyday simplicity to the workplace? With VMware Workspace ONE, he can. Workspace ONE lets John simplify IT from the get-go, even before users lay hands on their device, any device. He gets started with solutions, simple workflows that save IT valuable time in setting up the digital workspace. He is guided through smart recommendations for apps and policies, best suited for a use case that business drives. So when the new sales employee Jamie receives a work device on her first day, she is productive immediately. She has all apps ready, not only on her PC, but also her smartphone, so she can hit the ground running to make her first big sale. In the past, John spent 80% of the time keeping the lights on for the systems he supported. Not anymore. Workspace ONE lets him automate routine IT operations, whether it's securing devices or making sure the team's ready for the next audit. For example, using Workspace ONE, John quickly pulls a report on app license usage. He creates automation to revoke user permissions, remove apps on device, and even inform users so they aren't surprised. And his ROI on app purchases is greatly improved. John also spends less time solving routine IT issues. Workspace ONE scans performance data across hardware and software to proactively manage users' digital experience. For example, Workspace ONE predicts the hard disk on Jamie's Windows device may fail in the next few days. Using intelligence automation and connectors to an ecosystem of IT tools, Workspace ONE immediately triggers data backup, kicks off a warranty replacement ticket, and notifies John and Jamie about the replacement. With modern management and intelligence, John has elevated both user experience and security. And his IT team is now both cost-effective and business-centric. At the end of the day, nothing gives John more pleasure than seeing an employee that's happy with the services he's delivered. So when Jamie sends a thumbs up on her experience, John knows he's doing things right. Redefine modern management with Workspace ONE.
He looks like a very happy guy, doesn't he, John? I suppose you would be too if you had the ability to automate pretty much everything. Right, so we'll go into that in a little bit more detail now, and then I'll show you what this actually looks like in practice. So when it comes to Workspace ONE, when it comes to intelligence, and when it comes to employee experience and employee experience management, it's about these different focus areas. So first is understanding software usage and stability. There's performance and capacity planning. There's firmware stability, there's hardware health and repairs, and there's environmental impact. So what we're going to focus on really in the rest of this presentation is going to be around applications, it's going to be around hardware as well, and understanding that hardware and understanding application stability. So if you imagine, potentially you're an admin at an organization, you've just deployed a new application, and maybe you deployed it to Windows and Mac. And what you notice is that Windows users, for the first week, their adoption of the application, their usage of the application is absolutely brilliant. It's off the charts. It's everything you expected. But then Mac users on day 2, for some reason, their application adoption stops. So what you can do potentially is dive into the platform, have a look at the information and find out what's going on. So you may find that those Mac users are actually experiencing application slowdown. So maybe there's a problem with that application. So what you can do using the platform, and I'll show you what this looks like. Using the platform, you could send notifications out to those impacted users. So they could be any Mac users who have downloaded this application and are experiencing slowdowns. So you send a notification out and say, look, don't worry, we're aware of this. And then you can automatically push out an application update. So you can fix that problem. And you can automate all of these different pieces as well. So you can pull back the information that says there's a problem with the application. Then you can send a notification to end users, and then you can automatically, using Workspace ONE, push out an update. We'll go into how we do all of these different pieces in a bit more detail tomorrow. So when it comes to devices as well, I mean, you saw a really good example in that video. So we can detect device health. We have a concept of something called sensors, and then we can push out sensors and interrogate these sensors across multiple different devices. So in the example you saw, Jamie, the new salesperson, she had a new Dell laptop, and the platform detected that the hard drive was about to die. So in this case, potentially it was smart errors. So when a hard drive's got problems, it will create smart errors. Now, potentially the sensor was pulling out information from these smart errors, and then the platform would have decided, well, okay, this hard drive's about to die. What we're going to do is create a new service request, and we're going to put that into ServiceNow, potentially, if that's what the service desk tool that's in use. We're also going to send an email to the end user and say, look, we've detected a problem. Don't worry, we're going to do something about it. And then we'll create a service desk ticket that says, look, you need to replace this device. And then straight to a procurement, you could request a new device, a new Windows 10 laptop that gets sent to that end user. And then using some of the technology we'll go into tomorrow, all the user's got to do is open that device, sign in, potentially sign into Azure AD, and I've got a question on that, but I think I'll answer that tomorrow. Sign into Azure AD, and then what Workspace ONE will do is completely configure that device. It will push down all the configurations, it will push down all of the applications as well to that device. So potentially within, depending on the applications that are going down to it, potentially within half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, that is the device that user used to have. And all of that can be completely automated. And that's the power of the platform. We can stay on top. And when it comes to IT, when it comes to working in IT, and especially being an IT manager, you win serious kudos with a business if you can be proactive, if you can take care of problems before users are even aware. And that's the next frontier in end user computing. It is being proactive. It's proactively stopping security threats. It's proactively fixing devices before they fail. And that's the absolute pinnacle of user experience. Again, removing technology as a barrier, making technology invisible to the end users. We acquired an application, a vendor called Apptelligent, probably about 5 years ago now. And what Apptelligent gave us the ability to do is to understand applications and understand application crashes, understand how users are interacting with applications. And that gives us the ability to, again, pull information back into Workspace ONE, pull information into intelligence, and understand not only application adoption, but potentially application utilization. And any problems that occur with that application, we can actually take that information out, and potentially, if it's an internally developed application, pass that information back to developers so they can fix that problem. So what I'm going to show you now is what this looks like. So I'm just going to stop this share. While I'm doing this, are there any questions on what we've had so far? So I'm going to throw this question out to my fellow panelists. Are there any questions that have come in?
No, I think you covered it. That was the Windows 10 install. I do have a question around the app integration.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was just going back a bit. So you said you integrated with a lot of products out there and the workflow. Is that kind
mobile
of,
flows? Yes.
yeah, so is that kind of out of the box, or does it, have to be developed by the company itself?
So a lot of it is out of the box, and some of the connectors I showed you were out of the box integrations. A lot of what we do are based on the APIs that are made available by the third-party vendor. And so on a lot of occasions, it's going to be we see a lot of this for HR. Generally, whenever there's a workflow that a user needs to interact with, it's either line of business or it's a sort of a HR type of application. And so maybe you saw the screen that I pulled up. Let me just share again, if I can find my Zoom controls. So give me a second. Here we go. So if I just share my desktop again, so hopefully you can see the presentation there. If I just swap back to it, then there was a slide that had a list of some of the integrations on there. So if I just bring that up. So I appreciate that's probably quite small. Can you see that?
Still have your video feed though. Just check.
Maybe you can see that. You can see we've got LinkedIn, we've got OneDrive, we've got Workday, Concur, ServiceNow, and that's just some of them. We do have a reference.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try that again then. How about now?
There we go. Yeah.
Fantastic, great. Okay, so you can see some of the integrations on there. I appreciate it's probably not the clearest slide in the world, but we've got integrations, a lot of the HR tools out there. We've got integration with ServiceNow, Workday, LinkedIn, OneDrive, etc. And this is just some of the integrations that we've got. We do have a reference. I'll have to find that out for you when it comes to all the different integrations we've got for mobile flows. But again, this is one of those things that does make it really, really easy to be an employee. It really smooths out that experience for the end users. So if I just change my share across to here. Right, so what you should be able to see now is Workspace ONE UEM console. Can you see that?
I can do that, yeah.
Fantastic. So what I'm going to show you quickly is intelligence. So if I just click on monitor, and if I go into launch, then what that's going to do is launch the intelligence console. So in here, I'll show you a little bit of what sensors look like and what the automations look like. So I'll just give that a second to load. So if I go into automations, then in here, you can see I've got a number of automations that have already been pre-created. And one of the ones I want to show you is this one, replace Dell batteries with poor health. And that's quite similar to the one that we just saw. I'm not saying that Dell devices are likely to get failed hard drives or failed batteries. This is just sort of, these are the integrations we've got in our demo environment. So you can see in here, we've got sensors. And one of the sensor that we're using is for Dell battery health. So we can integrate really closely with a whole range of different devices that are out there. In this case, this is an integration with Dell Client Command on a Windows 10 laptop. So we can look into this and we can say, okay, with all the information that's coming back, we want sensors on all of these Windows 10 laptops, all these Dell Windows 10 laptops. And if the battery health on these laptops is less than or equal to 35, and this isn't charge, this is battery health itself, so how well it's holding the charge, then what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to create a ticket. And that ticket's going to say, look, Dell, and this is a ticket for IT, we're going to say Dell battery replacement required because the battery health is at or less than 35. And so there's now a ticket in there for Service Desk to see that, well, okay, this battery health is poor. We need to send out a new battery to these users. And then Workspace ONE will send out an email to the end user. And that email will say, hey, look, we've detected that your battery health on your laptop isn't as good as it used to be. Don't worry, IT are on this, and we're going to send you out a new battery. I mean, that looks amazing to end users. But again, this is all done by the platform. All that IT needs to do is see the Service Desk ticket, which appears automatically from Workspace ONE. And that's not the only sort of automation we've got. And I'll show you more of this on Thursday. But using the same engine, using the dashboards, using the reporting, the automation, the intelligence we've got built into this, we can actually have a look at activities that are going on right across the estate. And if something unusual and potentially insecure is happening, we can block users' access to subsets of applications or potentially every application. We can flag that up to IT and we can automatically block that access, or we can automatically push out an update to their endpoint device. So this intelligence platform that wraps around everything we do with user experience is also incredibly powerful when it comes to security. So that's all I wanted to demonstrate today. So are there any other questions?
So now is the time if you have any burning questions to get them answered. So raise your hands if we want to ask them live, or just write them in the chat. I've got one question in the chat.
So there is a chat there. Are we able to send automatic SMS to customers with this? So yeah, you can integrate with SMS tools to make this work, or you can send, again, one of the ways you probably do this would be to send a notification to a user's device. So if you've got the Intelligent Hub on the device, you just send a notification through to them. So even if their user account is locked, you can still send a notification through to that endpoint device.
All right. Any other questions?
I got a few people on the chat saying that they couldn't see some of the screens. Maybe that was just one or two. Hopefully everyone could see the screens.
Yeah, I think we got that covered. Well, otherwise, tomorrow it's going to be focused on the modern management with the unified endpoint manager. And we're going to deep dive or dive into that anyway, and show how that looks. So if nobody has any further questions, I just want to thank you, Ben, for doing this presentation today. And same time tomorrow, that we're gonna take the next step with Workspace ONE. And again, this recording will be available. If you do have any questions later on, feel free to reach out to your local Arrow team, and we'll be more than happy to help you get those answered, for sure. So I hope to see you tomorrow.
Brilliant. Right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care.